Okay, so we're back out here. It's a lovely day outside. It's raining, meant to be summer, and it was 33 yesterday and raining today. Really makes sense. So we've got most of the holes. I've got paint penned what's used and what's not, so we don't drill any unnecessary holes. I'm just working my way to the front, and then we've got the new inner still clamped in there, and we'll set up the mag drill on here and just go along and drill all the holes. It's pretty cool. That's the original part number there, I think. And yeah, so we've got the Milwaukee mag drill here. This is an interchangeable one. You can put a chuck on there, and you can also put the bit for the rotor broach cutter on it as well. So I've got a bunch of them, different sizes to use along the way, but we really only need 5/8 and 13 mil. And then anything smaller than 12 mil, we run the truck and a normal drill bit. And a normal drill bit drills the 700 fine. It's just, you've got to have a mag drill. It's be painful doing it by hand. So we'll get that all set up and we'll start drilling some holes. So that simply just threads on there with a little bit of persuasion. Just like that. And then you got 2 Allen keys that hold that aluminium block on. And that's all there is to it, to changing it. Very handy tool if you don't have one and you're going to do a job like this. It's a must-have. You can pick up some pretty cheap ones now, and I'm sure they'd do the same job. I just got this one on Marketplace. So yeah, that's all there is to it. But a very handy tool. So I'll put this back together and we'll get stuck into it. You can see how easy that drilled. That's 6 mil thick, 700 grade steel, and yeah, drilled it like it was nothing. But if you try and drill that with a hand drill, you'll be there forever. It's definitely not that easy, and it makes it look a lot easier than it is. So the magnet drill is definitely worth having. So I've got every hole that I'm going to use drilled now. It's turned into a workbench here, but when we get this outer skin off, you'll see should look pretty nice and clean. Shouldn't be any extra holes, maybe a couple here and there, but nothing too major. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll slap the new outer over this, flip it over, and we'll drill them all from the inside. But that's enough for today. We'll carry on with that tomorrow. So it's coming along. We should have this rail back in by the end of the week, hopefully.
Yeah, really.
That'd be good for you.
I don't know what colour, man.
Alrighty, so we've got all the rails clamped together. We've got all 4 rails here clamped together. They're back to back. So we're basically, obviously most of the holes are similar from one side to the other. It's all symmetrical or whatever, apart from a few. So I can just mark which ones we need, which are obviously the main ones: spring hangers, suspension, cab mounts are all going to be the same. And just drill straight through, pick out the slug with a magnet, and then go through the second rail. But this way, you make sure that both sides are identical and nothing can be out then. That way, if they're all clamped together like this. The only hard bit is confirming which holes may need to be added or which holes are extra. So that's where we're at right now, but the left-hand rail is completely drilled. Some people say not to, but we put these little spring hanger bolts back in, but it wasn't broken on the old chassis, so I'm sure it'll be fine now. If it was a single chassis truck like the W model, I probably wouldn't put them back in because they do tend to break. But yeah, so far so good. It's coming along. There's 90 holes in each rail, I think. So if this truck wasn't symmetrical before, it's going to be symmetrical now. Takes a bit longer drilling through both rails, but we're definitely getting there, making progress. So I'll just explain roughly how this works. You've got the coolant running into this, which is just a spinning swivel. The coolant comes through there, that's hollow center. Coolant comes down in the middle, and you've got your center point here, which is spring loaded, so there's a spring up in there. When you push that, when that's on the steel and pushes up, it activates, well, it lets the coolant run through down the center, and then it also doubles that spring. This is what you cut out, so it's a hollow drill bit, so it doesn't have to drill too much metal, and that fits up in there, and that's when it pops through the other side, that spring loaded pin flings that slug out, and that's how it works. So you end up with heaps of little ones of these, and yeah, they drill excellent. I've done well over 200 holes, and I've only used one of these. Like they don't wear out as such, but they're about somewhere around $80 each, so they're a bit pricey like when you start buying a few, but it's doing these holes no worries at all. They're the 1/2 inch holes, and then we go up to 5/8. I change the bit and go back along and do all the 5/8 holes. So this is where we're up to with the rails. All 4 rails are drilled. We've got 3 holes to go, but I just need the driver's side spring hanger off or chassis rail out to actually mark those holes. But otherwise, both rails are mirrored. Everything looked like it was the same each side. There wasn't too many bolts that were extras or standing out. I got rid of a lot of bolts that I thought weren't needed. Blank holes, stuff like that. So we've literally just got 6 rod holes, bump stop holes, turntable, rail mount holes, 2 cross members in the middle, J brackets, engine mount, gearbox mount, and front frame horns, spring hangers, cab mounts, bunk mounts. I think that's most of it. There might be a few little random holes here and there that might need to be added if I missed them, but it'll be all right. So from here on, I'll point out the front cutouts. So I'm not sure if all trucks come like this. I haven't looked at others, but I know the KTs definitely need the front frame trimmed down to clear the motor. The compressor for a start sticks out quite a way. So all 4 rails get trimmed back to about I don't know, that must be the back of the motor, start of the gearbox area. And then up this end, we've got the rails tapered down like that. So just cut a triangle out, give them a heat, hit them down with a hammer. And the inner rail gets the top flange cut off like that. And yeah, it's got to be that exact angle so the bumper fits on there. So it's pretty much exactly the same as that, except the inner and outer rail come out the same length, so no dirt and crap can sit there. But that's how that's looking. We'll sandblast it, and then it gets epoxy primed, painted, and then let it dry, give it a sand, just rough it up with some 320 to take the shine off it, put the rails in, then bolt all the extra bits on, which will also be sandblasted, painted, scuffed, so all the bolts go in, do everything up, and then go along and give it another couple of coats over the top of the sanded area. And that last final coat will seal everything up, all the bolts, everything like that. So hopefully no rust can start. So it's basically really going to end up with 1 or 2 coats of epoxy, and then 3 or 4 coats of red over the top. We're changing the chassis colour to red. Some people might love it, some people might hate it, but black just didn't stand out, just reminded me of a Freightliner or a Sterling or something like that. So I've gone and got red paint. It's pretty similar colour to the striped red on the cab. I just didn't want to go maroon and have too much maroon, because then the hubs would be painted that colour and everything. So I didn't want too much maroon. I wanted to break it up a bit. I've got a photo of the colour, but yeah, you can't really see. There's a little bit on the lid, but you can't really tell. Looks different in different light. The reason I couldn't match that completely is because that's a base clear, and there's no way I would base clearing the chassis on this truck. As cool as that would be, it just wouldn't be very good. So there was a little scratch here I touched up. You can see it's maybe a tad lighter. Looks pretty similar. I'll zoom in a little bit so I can stop. So that right there is a little bit of paint that I touched up, so it's very similar. So pretty much have 4 colours: the light blue, the silver, the red, and the maroon. I had to take the bunk door off to use that as a sample to get the right colour. I've got my new turntable angles. These ones were like Swiss cheese, so I didn't like that. So we've got the new turntable angles. I think they're like 75mm by 105, 10mm thick. So yeah, we've just got to drill them and then sandblast and paint. So got a bit of work coming in now because everyone's back from holidays, but we'll keep progress moving on this one so we don't lose motivation. We've got to get it back to at least a roller in a reasonable time frame. And then the motor, gearbox and front end can all wait a little bit, but just can't leave it in the shed like this because we can't get anything else in here. But anyway, that's where we're up to right now. So we'll keep into it and make some progress. I know there's a lot of time lapses, but I guarantee you don't want to spend 2 days watching me drill holes in this and triple checking that I'm not drilling them in the wrong spot or drilling holes that aren't needed. So anyway, we'll keep into it. Okay, so we're back on the SAR, which is good. I've been out working and finally getting a spare couple of days. It's going to be hot today, so it rained all day yesterday, so the ground is soaked. So we're going to, this set of rails has already been blasted once, but it's been sitting in the shed for a couple of weeks, and we just got some surface rust coming through, so we're going to give that another blast and clean them up and then hang them up and prime and paint them. I still haven't drilled the shocker bolt holes, but that's okay. I can do that once it's back on the truck, once the rails are back in the truck, because
they've got to be sanded again. So I'm going to prime them, paint them, and then they'll go in the truck, get sanded again, and then once it's all back together, I'll do like one coat over everything to seal everything up over the bolts and everything. But I obviously got to rough it up and sand it so that it's not a smooth finish. So it doesn't matter if I have to put the mag drill on and drill another hole, really. So yeah, that's the plan at this stage. Okay, I'm just mixing up some primer. We got Valspar epoxy white primer. It's 4:1 ratio with about 30 to 40% thinners. I'm just gonna make a mess here. So yeah, being 4:1 and 30 or 40% thinners, it'll thin down quite a bit. It's quite thick, obviously. And it's white primer, being that we're gonna go red over the top of it. And we're gonna do 2 medium coats, 15 minutes minimum between coats, and then wet on wet with the red over the top, hopefully. That's the plan. So, epoxy primer activator there. This stuff's pretty expensive, but it is pretty good. I used to use different stuff, but the shop I got that from has closed down, so I went back to this place. I used to use this some time ago. It's good. I'll have paint all over it soon. I'll have paint all over it soon. Why? Because I'm going to need that much? Yeah, I've done a sort of a small one just to try, and then I can always go with more. Nah, he's in America now. Okay, we've got that mixed up. We've got about 1.5 litres there. So we'll put that in the paint pot. I use a paint pot instead of a spray gun just because it takes like three spray gun pots to get through that much, and it takes ages when you're doing big stuff. So I just sit the mixing cup in the paint pot here and plug the air into it. I've got a little water separator trap over there, and yeah, pretty much get to spraying. It's got a long hose on it. It's nice and light, your hand doesn't get tired. So I don't know, I'm no painter, but I like using it. So we've got all 4 rails set up out here. These are the sets, that's an inner and outer, and an inner and outer over there. I've got a couple more holes to drill in each rail, but for the shocker brackets and the steering box has an extra bolt on the driver's side and 2 spring hanger bolts. I've got these little ones to drill in the other one, but I'm going to drill them second, drill them when I get that other rail out, just so I can mirror them without having to measure it, because I'm a spud and I'll stuff it up. So, and then once they're painted, we can just leave them hanging on these. If it decides to storm later and it's going to rain, we can pick them up and bring them in the shed. It'll be a bit difficult, but we can do it. So yeah, I'm going to put my mask on, roll the time lapse, and get to painting. So I've done 2 medium white coats of primer, and now I'm going to go mix up the red and spray the red on. Can't remember how many coats of that I'm doing, probably a couple. And then obviously the insides of the rails will stay painted, not get sanded, and then the outers will get sanded. Look, bugs. I wish they wouldn't. Don't know why they're attracted to the paint so much. Look, another one. Arseholes. Anyway, 2 coats of white. Go mix the red up and do more painting. I'm going white. It's my leg hair. It's terrible. But anyway, we will go make more paint. and I'll be back and we'll go to time lapse. So yesterday I ended up getting the rails painted. Red, obviously, as you can see. It was ridiculously hot and my phone was having a fit, saying that it was overheating and I didn't want to record and everything like that. So yeah, I didn't get to show you all of it, I don't think. Hopefully I got a little bit of it before it overheated. Got some stuff stuck to it, being that I painted outside, bugs and fur and stuff, but like I said, the outside is going to get sanded again to get a final coat, so it's not too much of a big deal. Got a couple of small runs in this rail somewhere up here, I think, but yeah, just there, but that'll sand out. Got a pretty good surface finish. Like you can see, there's a few hairs and stuff sticking in it that are stuck to it with the wind blowing on it and stuff like that, but what do you expect painting outside? I could have taken the time to set up a bay in the shed, but the rails just take up so much space and I'm limited on time this week. Got a few other jobs going on, so just got to do our best with what we got. But yeah, like I said, it's going to get sanded and repainted, so that will make a big difference. It'll be even smoother and shinier than it is now. So yeah, I'm happy with the color. It looks good. I think it's going to look a lot better than black. So yeah, today we're going to put the two sets of rails together and Sigaflex the seams between it. We'll Sigaflex the seams in here with the new rails. And yeah, that should be good. Shouldn't let anything in there, and I'd say it would last a fair bit longer than what the original did, being that I've primed and painted the inside and I'm going to seal it, so should be much better. So I've just got Sigaflex 227 in a tube, white. It's paintable, sandable, all of that. Put a bead at the start and the end, and then once it's together, we'll mask the flanges and run a bead all the way down the bottom in there, I think. So I've done a bead at this end too. And we're just gonna lift the rail, sit it on these bars and drop one end in at a time, put a couple of bolts in it, do it up, and then there should be a little bit of a gap to squeeze the Sikaflex down each side. So that's the plan. So we've got the rails seam sealed.
at the end, as you saw, there's a bead running up there, and then I masking taped both sides of these rails and got a nice bead of Sigaflex all the way along. And yeah, I might poke a couple little pinholes down the bottom maybe to let anything escape that does come down. And there's a bead running down there under that. I might just put a little bit more in that corner there, but that's basically how they look at the moment. They look pretty good, I reckon. This will all get sanded where the stuff's stuck to, but yeah, it's not too big of a deal. Alrighty, both rails are sealed, Sigaflexed, painted. Got to rub them back still, but they are looking pretty good. Someone's rubbed their fingers along this one, but it's getting there. Sigaflex is drying, that'll be sandable, but it's pretty good bead along there, that being that I masked up both flanges. We've got the front bunk mount, rear cab mount, exhaust mount out. That was obviously bolted in there, so that's out for some repairs. Someone's taken the oxy to it and cut out a bigger hole. Obviously they were struggling to get the exhaust through, so we're going to make up I'm going to cut out a circle on the plasma cutter just to fill that bit in there and get rid of that, because it looks like it's been chewed out. And the bunk mount was welded there. It's very short. I might show you on one of the other trucks what they're like, but it was only that size, and it was welded there with no bolts in it, and it's practically impossible to change the front bunk mount without unbolting that. So we've taken that off. That's going to get extended out to here, 2 more holes in it, which is how the later model ones were anyway. And then that'll bolt on and we'll have slotted holes, and that will solve that problem. Then we can sandblast all that. The frame horn's outside waiting to be sandblasted, and we can prime, paint and start working our way from the front back on the truck to get this left-hand rail in. So that's the plan. But yeah, it's enough for today, so we'll continue on tomorrow.